Hi everyone, it's Nicole here today with the Bird Crazy and Crazy Things stamp sets from Tim Holtz, and I used them to create a fun Halloween card. I love these crazy birds, and now that they have the coordinating accessory stamp set, the crazy things, and then the coordinating dies, I thought it would really be fun to create a Halloween themed card using the birds and the accessories. I started by stamping this one bird here from the Bird Crazy stamp set a couple of times, and then I'm coloring it in with Copic markers. The individual marker colors are shown across the bottom of the screen there. I'm using 3 shades of brown for the bird, and I'm really having to saturate the paper to blend these particular 3 colors. I am avoiding the beak and eyes on this bird where I'm coloring the majority, or the body of the bird, I guess I should say, because the coordinating dies that go with the Bird Crazy and Crazy Things stamp sets will cut out, or the Bird Crazy stamp set, I guess I should say, for the birds, will cut out the individual pieces. So there is the full bird die, and you could definitely color the beak and the eyes if you wanted to. Then there's also the eyes and beak and wing that coordinate with this bird, and then the same thing for the other birds in the stamp set. So if you want to create dimensional areas on the image, like for my card today, I added some foam adhesive behind the eyes and beak and wing. You can do that and get a much more dimensional type of die cut bird, which I think is so super fun. So on the second bird, I'm going to color just the beak and the eyes. I am using a little warm gray there for the white portion of the eyes, just to give it a small pop of color, and then blue for the eye color itself. And then I'll also color in the wing with those same colors that I just used, so that I can pop up that wing a little bit. That way when I go to add the jack-o'-lantern that the bird is holding, that you can tuck it under there a little easier, I guess is what I want to say. So here I'd already taped my bird die and the eyes and beak in place, and I colored in the wing real quick so I can do it as well, and then I'll run them through the big shot. Now the great thing about these coordinating dies, they cut really close to the actual stamped line. You're not going to get much of an outline, if an outline at all. There's only a little bit of an outline here on the birds. I totally love that. Then you can see here for the beak and the eyes, as long as you get that lined up correctly, there's not going to be an outline at all. Lovely, lovely. I love these stamps and dies so much. Just so many fun ways that you can create some really awesome bird cards or other projects. Bird themed cards, I guess. Now I'm going to take some foam adhesive, and I'm going to have to trim it down a little bit and place it behind those die cut images because they're pretty small, and then attach those right on top of the bird. Then I'm going to add some glossy accents to the eyes and the beak. It's going to give them some nice glossy dimension, and I can set this to the side while I work on the rest of the card so that the glossy accents dries really well before I go to put together anything else on this card design. Now I stamped the witch hat from the Crazy Things stamp set. This is the stamp set that coordinates with the Bird Crazy stamp set from Tim Holtz. And I am using some blue-violet colors to color in the witch hat. They almost have a grayish look to them. These are some of my favorite colors to use. They have just that touch of violet or purple to them, but still give a nice dark color. I'm using BV23 as my base color, and then BV25 as my midtone, and BV29 as my darkest shadowing color. And I went over it a few times, ending with that BV29 in a few areas to really darken it up, those distressed areas on the witch hat. For the band around the hat, I used some cool gray markers You can see the difference between the two color families here. These are definitely more gray, and the purple kind of pops against that light gray band. And then the yellow buckle I did go over with the Stardust glitter pin from Sakura. And I'm going to attach that witch hat to my bird using some glue dots just along that edge. You can see the eyes and the beak are still wet here at this point. I die cut the witch hat with those coordinating Crazy Things dies. Again, you can see it doesn't leave much of a border around the die cuts, which I love. And then over the entire hat, I'm going to use the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen for a little touch of glitz and glimmer. I'm also going to need the broom that the little witch bird is going to be standing on, and I'm coloring it with the same colors I used to color in the bird. They were handy, and so I went ahead and used those, the E30, 55, and 59. I'm sorry that I'm out of frame a little bit for the coloring here. Very quick and easy coloring for that broom, and then of course I'm going to use the coordinating Crazy Things die and die cut that. I've stamped the jack-o'-lantern also from the Crazy Things stamp set, and I'm coloring it in with some of my favorite colors to color in orange pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns, and that's YR24, 27, and E19. And I'll just build up that color and get that all colored in. Now the eyes and nose and mouth are not very prominent and dark when they're just stamped as is, so I'm going to show you how I'll darken those up after I die cut this image with the coordinating die. I'm going to work on just getting the shading down for now, and then I can darken up those eyes and nose and mouth areas. Grab that coordinating die out of the little package here. Place that right over there, use some Post-it tape to hold it in place, and then die cut it. Again, look at how precisely that is die cut. I absolutely love it. It looks really nice. I like that it doesn't have a really wide black or white border all the way around. This is the Sakura black glaze pen that I'm going to use to darken up those areas on the jack-o'-lantern, and I really think it makes them pop and much more prominent and really dresses up that jack-o'-lantern a little bit. For the background, I am using some fossilized amber and blueprint sketch inks from Tim Holtz. I'm applying them with the mini ink blending tool on some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. I didn't add too much of the fossilized amber because I really am going to be covering up most of that. I don't want it to be quite as prominent as you see here. I'm working right now to really darken up the blue sky, and then I'm blending those two areas where the two colors meet using both the fossilized amber and blueprint sketch foams there on my mini ink blending tools. And once I have the yellow or the amber there the way I want it, I'm taking the blueprint sketch and covering that up completely. It's still going to give me that look of two different colors, but it's going to be a much more seamless looking background. I'm going to just lay everything out to make sure I like how that looks. Spritz the background with some water in a mini mister, and then I'm going to let that sit and completely air dry. Some of those bigger blotches of water, you can see how the Distress inks react with the water there and create some lighter areas in the background. Now from the Crazy Talk stamp set that has tons of awesome greetings that coordinate with these birds and the accessories, I stamped Happy Halloween, Trick or Treat. And then I am just going to use a little Post-it tape and stamp both of those greetings again so that I can cut around them and create a mask. I am going to stamp a background. It's going to be really, really light. You wouldn't have to do this. Originally, my thinking was I might add some embossing powder to my stamped stars on my background, and I chose not to do that. That's mostly why I went ahead and masked off the greeting. However, I am kind of glad there aren't any stars going through the greeting. You can do it either way. If you were embossing, I would definitely recommend masking off like I did here. This is the Falling Stars background stamp from Simon Says Stamp. And I am going to be trimming down my background, so I don't have to stamp stars across the entire thing. I kind of lined them up with the left side there, and then I pressed that down in place. I am using the Versamark Frost ink, and it's going to give a nice, just a very, very subtle star background there. I did trim down the background just a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch on 2 sides, so that it'll be slightly smaller than the size of an A2 card. And then I am gluing in place my bird, the jack-o'-lantern, and the broomstick. Go ahead and make sure I have that all, so it looks kind of like he's flying through the air, or she's flying through the air there on her broomstick on Halloween. Go ahead and use some nice strong adhesive. I like to use a strong adhesive on the back of a watercolored background. Attach that to a white top or a side fold card base from Simon Says Stamp. And then I'll finish with a scattering of pretty pink Posh sequins. I'm using the Silver Star sequins and the Sparkling Clear sequins in both the 4mm and 6mm size. And just kind of scatter a few of them from that top left corner down below the broomstick. I'm using the Zotz Bling glue dots to hold those in place. And that will finish up this Halloween Bird Crazy card featuring the Tim Holtz Bird Crazy, Crazy Things, and Crazy Talk stamps. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.